Welcome, dear learners. Welcome to the lecture series on investment management. Dear learners, today I am back with a lecture on investment decision process. Dear learners, in the first lecture, we have understood the concept of investment. Then, in the second lecture, we have understood the differences between speculation and investments, real and financial assets. Today, after gaining some insights on investment, the concept of investment, let us try to understand the investment decision process. Now, when we say process, it is series of sequential steps involving some decisions at the end of each step. So, investment decision also is considered to be a process involving series of sequential steps, which involves critical decisions to be made. Now, what are these steps? We'll discuss one by one. So, the first step in investment decision process is investment policy. Every company has an investment policy. This policy differs from company to company and person to person. The policy is formulated on the basis of investable funds, objectives, and knowledge about investment sources. See, while formulating investment policy, the most important factor need to be considered is what percentage of funds we have, what amount of funds we own, and what percentage of it can be invested. By taking into consideration the objectives of the firm. While formulating investment policy, always you need to formulate the policy by keeping in mind the objectives, because ultimately you need to achieve the objectives of your firm. Investment policy formulation requires knowledge about investment sources. This is an important requirement while formulating your investment policy. Now, once you have an investment policy, then you need to do security analysis. This is most important step in this process, because if you fail in this step, entire investment decision, you make wrong decisions. So, what do you mean by security analysis? See, here we will be using some approaches to understand the economy at large. Like, we will analyze the economy at large using some factors of economic factors like GDP, inflation, the budget decisions, etc. etc. We also then narrow down this analysis to industry and then to the company in a phased manner before we purchase some securities. So, we will be discussing how to analyze, how to make an analysis before we invest our funds using some concepts called fundamental analysis, technical analysis down the line in this chapter in detail. So that will give you an in-depth analysis of this step. So after step number 2, here we have the third step, that is valuation. Valuation refers to determining the intrinsic value of the share. That is, we measure the intrinsic value of the share using book value or some other ratios. Not only share, if you want to invest in some bonds or any other mutual funds, etc., etc., we value those securities. And that is the reason why your investment management syllabus deal with the valuation of bonds in the second unit, valuation of common stock shares in the third unit, and portfolio evaluation in the fifth unit. Valuation simply refers to determining the true value of securities. Now, once you determine the intrinsic value of securities, you go for portfolio construction. Portfolio is combination of securities. There is a famous saying by Warren Buffett that don't put all eggs in one basket. So every company prefer to invest their funds, or they diversify their funds into various assets. If you combine all these assets, it is referred to as portfolio. Now, while construction of portfolio, or if you make investments into, if you want to diversify your funds into various assets and make a portfolio, you should take utmost care to maximize your return and minimize the entire risk, which will help the company in maximizing the wealth of the shareholders. The next and the last step in the investment decision process is called portfolio evaluation. See, once you have a portfolio constructed, you cannot leave or set aside. You need to constantly, continuously evaluate its performance, revise the assets within it. Suppose an asset is not performing well, take out the funds and inject into some other asset and revise the portfolio. This process is called evaluation of portfolio, which is important for reaping benefits. So this is what is all about the investment decision process. Now let us move forward towards understanding some investment alternatives. Investment alternatives, see, most of the times people ask where I need to park my funds. People ask others to give suggestions where to invest. See, it differs from person to person and in fact place to place. So here I have given you some investment alternatives where people generally tend to park their funds. People may prefer to invest in non-marketable securities like your PF, Provident Fund, bank deposits, post office deposits. These are all non-marketable securities. You cannot market them. People also prefer to invest in bonds, debentures, mutual fund schemes, and there are class of people who prefer to invest in real assets. People also prefer to invest in equity shares, money market instruments. There are a particular class of people who invest in life insurance. Now these days, insurance, most of the people invest in life insurance because they also get some tax deductions, etc., etc. And last but not the least, people also tend to invest in precious metals like gold, silver, art objects, and precious stones. People also invest their funds in these precious objects. Whatever it is called an investment. So I'm not restricting this investment alternatives so to the avenues whatever are mentioned here. There are many, but I have mentioned few out of them. So let us discuss what we have studied today in this session. We started understanding the investment decision process where we have understood step by step the decision making process before we make an investment. And later we have understood investment alternatives, general platforms where people prefer to park money. So that's all for today. I would like to request you to subscribe to the channel Ashvi Management Classes and share these classes to your friends so that it will be helpful for them, and press the bell icon because whenever a lecture is released it will notify you so that you will not be missing out any lecture. So we will be coming up with next lecture soon. Till then, good day, goodbye.